The Trelk pirate's blade dripped with the blood of slaughtered Lemnorian colonists. Captain Jacob Reed clenched his fists as he watched the gruesome scene unfold on the view screen of the human starship Indomitable. For too long, the Trelks had terrorized the outer colonies, believing they could raid and pillage with impunity. But they had never tangled with humanity before. "Status report," Jacob barked. "The Lemnorian colony has taken heavy casualties, sir," his first officer replied grimly. "The Trelks struck without warning. Governor Vega sent an emergency distress call. They're begging for our help." Jacob's jaw tightened. The Lemnorians were a peaceful people, scientists and diplomats, not warriors. For decades, they had been humanity's closest allies, sharing their advanced technology and knowledge of the cosmos. Earth owed them a debt that could never fully be repaid. He thought back to his first voyage as a young ensign, when a Lemnorian engineer had saved his life during an engine core breach. The alien had shoved him into an escape pod an instant before the compartment depressurized, sacrificing himself to save a human he barely knew. Jacob had sworn he would never forget that act of selfless heroism. Now the Lemnorians were under attack by the same pirate scum who had been growing bolder and more violent in recent years. The unified Earth government wanted to look the other way, to not get entangled in a conflict that didn't directly threaten human interests. But Jacob knew that humanity couldn't just sit back and let their friends be slaughtered and enslaved. "The Trelk ship is still in orbit around Trexia Prime," the sensor officer reported. "They're firing on the colony." "Battle stations!" Jacob roared. "Prep boarding parties and ready the gun batteries. These bastards want to fight. We'll give them one." The Indomitable swooped in, pulse cannons and torpedoes raking across the Trelk ship's hull. The pirates fired back, but their outdated weapons were no match for the state-of-the-art human warship. In minutes, the enemy vessel was crippled and venting atmosphere. But Jacob's eyes widened as he zoomed in on a group of ragged Lemnorians being herded into the pirate ship's launching bay at gunpoint. A chilling transmission came in from the enemy captain, his scarred face sneering even as alarms and fires raged behind him. "Call off your attack, human, or these pale wretches will be splattered across the stars," the Trelk snarled. "Leave now, and they may live to see another day. Interfere, and I will make you watch as we flay the skin from their twitching bodies." Jacob gritted his teeth, his heart pounding. The hostages were civilians, scientists and families, not soldiers. The Trelks were despicable cowards, hiding behind innocent shields. But he knew they would make good on their threats. They had to be stopped here and now, before their cruelty could spread. The Indomitable had the firepower to tear the wounded Trelk ship apart, but not without killing the hostages too. Jacob opened the ship-wide comms. "Marines, prepare for close-quarters combat. We're going over there. Our people don't abandon friends to terror and death. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you provoke the wrath of Earth. Lock and load, boys and girls. We're paying back the blood debt owed to our Lemnorian brothers and sisters. Time to collect some pirates' heads. Move out." He punched the console, readying his own battle rifle. The Trelks were about to learn an important lesson. "Don't fuck with humanity." Jacob pounded his fist on the console, the impact reverberating through the bridge. He had no choice. He had to go after those bastards. "Comms, get me the manifest for the Indomitable's Marine Detachment. I want our best of the best for this op." Within the hour, Jacob had assembled his team in the briefing room. They were the cream of the crop, hardened veterans of dozens of engagements. Each one wore the Void Breacher patch, marking them as the most elite warriors humanity had to offer. Jacob brought up a holo of the fleeing Trelk ship. "Listen up. Thanks to our Lemnorian allies' sensor tech, we tracked the warp signature of the damaged pirate vessel to an uncharted system out in the frontier, a place called Desolation Station." The Marines traded knowing looks. They'd all heard of Desolation Station. It was a melting pot of mercs, smugglers, and galactic scum, the kind of place even the brave watched their backs. "The Trelks will be laying low, licking their wounds. Time to show them what happens when you cross the line." Jacob's plan started to take shape. They couldn't go in guns blazing, not with the hostages in play. This called for a more subtle approach. He sent his tech specialist, Hawkins, to procure some less than reputable attire. It was time to play dress-up. The Indomitable dropped out of warp on the fringes of the system, careful to avoid any sensor nets. A single shuttle launched, carrying Jacob and 3 of his most trusted operatives. As it glided into Desolation Station's docking bay, Jacob checked his reflection in the viewport. The face staring back was nearly unrecognizable. Scarred, unshaven, and mean. Perfect. The team slipped into the station, just another bunch of mercs looking for a payday. The place reeked of stale sweat and cheap booze. Shouts and laughter and dozens of tongues filled the air. Jacob scanned the crowd, his augmented eyes picking out anyone who might pose a threat. There, in a dimly lit corner, a crate lounging at a table, nursing something toxic. Rask. Their intel said he was the one to talk to for dirt on Desolation's seedier residents, for the right price. Jacob sauntered over, a cocky swagger masking the coiled tension in his muscles. He slid into the booth across from Rask, his men positioning themselves nearby. "I hear you're the one to talk to about the Trelks ship that docked recently," Jacob said in flawless crate, placing a credit chip on the table. Rask eyed the chip greedily, his forked tongue darting out to taste the air. "Ah, yes, fresh meat. They came limping in a few rotations ago. What's your interest?" "Let's just say my associates and I have some unfinished business with the Trelk captain. Seems he took something of ours. We aim to get it back." Jacob slid another chip next to the first. Rask licked his fangs. "The hostages, you mean? Oh yes, I know all about their little side hustle. They're keeping them on the ship, docked on the far side, undergoing repairs." Rask leaned in, his fetid breath washing over Jacob. "But I must warn you, the Trelks are a nasty bunch. They won't let go of their prizes easily, and they fight like rabid slath beasts when cornered." Jacob allowed a cold smile. "Don't worry about us. We know how to handle rabid beasts." With the intel secured, Jacob and his men regrouped with the rest of the team on the Indomitable. It was time for Phase 2. Late into the station's night cycle, a single figure slipped through the maze of corridors near the docking rings. Petty Officer Chen, the team's infiltration expert. In her wake, power fluctuations rippled across the station, disrupting security systems and plunging sections into darkness. On the far side, Jacob led his squad toward the battered Trelk ship, hugging the shadows. They were kitted out in dark flex armor, cloaking fields shimmering as they moved. Chen's diversion would only buy them so much time. They had to move fast. The outer airlock was child's play for Hawkins, the hatch sliding open with barely a hiss. The team filed in, weapons up and scanning. The first Trelk they encountered barely had time to grunt in surprise before a silent pulse from Jacob's rifle put him down. They moved deeper into the ship, following the map Rask had provided. The brig was 2 levels down past the engineering bay. Jacob hand-signaled his men into formation, stacking up at each junction. So far, so good. The team made it to the cell block with only a few brief firefights, the cloaking fields and superior human reflexes giving them a decisive edge. Jacob placed a breaching charge on the heavy hatch and ducked around the corner. The shaped blast tore through the reinforced metal like it was paper. Jacob was first through the breach, rifle snapping left and right, searching for targets. But the room was empty, save for a row of filthy cells. Hollow eyes stared back at him from behind the force field barriers. Lemnorian eyes. "We're here to get you out. I'm Captain Jacob Reed, UEN Indomitable." A tall Lemnorian in the last cell stood, his pale features gaunt but proud. "I am Zorn, Chief Science Officer and mate to Governor Vega. We are forever in your debt, Captain Reed." Jacob nodded curtly, motioning for his demolitions man to get to work on the cell locks. "Thank us when we're off this no for longer than absolutely necessary pit. Move it, Taggart." Just as the last of the Lemnorians was freed, a piercing alarm split the air. The entire ship shuddered as its engines began to power up. "Damn it, Chen, I said buy us time, not kick the hornet's nest," Jacob muttered. "Sir, I'm picking up multiple hostiles converging on the brig." They'll be on us in 30 seconds, Hawkins warned, consulting his wrist scanner. Double time it, people! Back the way we came! Jacob barked, herding the slower-moving Lemnorians into a protective formation between his men. They made it halfway to the airlock before the Trelks caught up. The corridors erupted into a storm of pulse fire and ricocheting energy bolts. The sharp tang of ozone filled the air. Jacob and his team fell back in good order, laying down suppressing fire to cover the civilians. But there were too many raiders. Howling war cries echoed from every direction. Get the Lemnorians to the shuttle. I'll hold them here, Jacob shouted over the din, slamming a fresh power cell into his rifle. Zorn tried to protest, but Jacob cut him off. You're more important than I am. Get your people home. Complete the mission. That's an order. The Lemnorians reluctantly fell back as Jacob stood alone in the narrow choke point. Wave after wave of Trelks rushed forward only to be cut down by precision bursts. Pulse bolts crackled past Jacob's head, searing the bulkheads. He grimaced as several found their mark, his armor barely absorbing the hits. A new figure pushed to the front of the Trelk horde, barking orders in the guttural pirate tongue. The captain. Hate distorted his pocked face as he leveled a wicked barbed pistol. Hiding behind hostages again? Jacob spat. Fight me like a man, you gutless son of a bitch! He lunged forward, ignoring the fire lancing into him, and grappled the captain against the wall. The pistol went skittering across the deck. They traded vicious blows, smashing into the unyielding metal. The world went gray as a serrated blade sank into Jacob's stomach. He roared and headbutted the captain, feeling the alien's nasal ridge crunch under the impact. A following elbow strike crushed the Trelk's throat. The captain sank to the deck, gasping and twitching. Jacob slumped against the bulkhead, trying to stem the crimson flow seeping between his fingers. He'd lost track of how many smoking holes peppered his armor. Darkness crept at the corners of his vision. He was dimly aware of a firefight erupting somewhere nearby. The staccato bark of human weapons, a clipped shout. Captain, we've got you, sir. Hands gripped him, dragging him roughly across the deck. A shuttle, concerned green Lemnorian faces. He tried to speak, to tell them he was just fine, but his body refused to cooperate. As the hatch sealed and the starfield swallowed them, Jacob let the darkness claim him. Jacob blinked awake, his body aching as consciousness returned. The sterile white of the medbay greeted him along with the steady beep of medical equipment. He tried to sit up, but felt a firm hand on his shoulder. Easy there, Captain, Dr. Chen said. You took quite a beating. Multiple stab wounds, internal bleeding, not to mention all those pulse burns. It's a miracle you're still with us. Jacob grunted, memories of the fight on Desolation Station flooding back. The Lemnorians? Did we get them out? Chen nodded. All accounted for thanks to you. Now lie back and let the nanobots finish their work. You've got weeks of recovery ahead. Those weeks crawled by, filled with physical therapy and endless debriefings. But finally, as the Indomitable entered orbit around Trexia Prime, Jacob stood on the bridge once more, his uniform crisp and his posture straight despite the lingering ache in his side. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the beaming face of Governor Vega. Captain Reed, words cannot express our gratitude for your heroic actions. Please, you and your crew must join us planetside for a proper celebration. Hours later, Jacob found himself surrounded by cheering Lemnorians, their pale skin flushed with excitement. Zorn approached, clasping Jacob's hand. My friend, you have given us back our future. Governor Vega wishes to speak with you privately. In a quiet alcove, Vega's expression turned serious. Captain, in light of your bravery, we've decided to share some of our more advanced defensive technologies with Earth. It's the least we can do to protect our allies against future Trelk aggression. Before Jacob could respond, alarms blared. A junior officer burst in, face pale. Governor, Captain, long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet dropping out of hyperspace. It's the Trelks, sir. Hundreds of ships. Vega's eyes widened in fear. By the void, they've come for revenge. Jacob's mind raced. How long? 2 hours at most, sir, the officer replied. Jacob turned to Vega. Get your people to shelter. We'll buy you as much time as we can. Back on the Indomitable, Jacob barked orders as his crew scrambled to battle stations. Hawkins, get those new Lemnorian shield upgrades online. Chen, prep all weapon systems. This is going to get ugly. The sky above Trexia Prime darkened as the Trelk Armada emerged from hyperspace, a vast swarm of mismatched vessels united in their thirst for vengeance. All hands brace for impact, Jacob shouted as the first volley of Trelk fire slammed into the Indomitable's shields. The ship shuddered, but held. Return fire, Jacob commanded. Show these bastards what happens when you mess with humanity. The Indomitable's upgraded weapons lashed out, carving through the Trelk ships with terrifying efficiency. But for every pirate vessel destroyed, 3 more took its place. Shields at 60% and falling, Captain, Chen reported, her fingers dancing across the console. We can't keep this up forever. Jacob gritted his teeth. We don't need forever. We just need to hold the line. He keyed the comms. This is Captain Reed to all fighters. Prepare for Operation Blindside. On my mark. Jacob strapped himself into the cockpit of his personal fighter, adrenaline surging. Now! A dozen human fighters screamed out of the Indomitable's launch bay, Jacob at the lead. They dove into the chaotic furball, weaving between larger ships. Slipstream drives engaged, Jacob called out. The fighters vanished, reappearing an instant later behind the Trelk fleet's rear guard. Fire resonance torpedoes. The experimental weapons burrowed into the hulls of the pirate ships before detonating. Trelk vessels imploded, torn apart from within by cascading waves of destructive energy. For a moment, victory seemed within reach. Then, a massive Trelk dreadnought emerged from the carnage, its primary weapon glowing with malevolent energy. Evasive maneuvers! Jacob screamed, but it was too late. The dreadnought fired, and half of Jacob's squadron vanished in a blinding flash. Jacob's fighter tumbled, alarms blaring. He wrestled for control, limping back to the Indomitable. The human warship was a mess of breached hull plates and venting atmosphere. All hands abandon ship, Jacob ordered, his heart heavy. Get to the escape pods. As Jacob's pod launched, he watched helplessly as the victorious Trelk dreadnought lined up for the killing blow against the crippled Indomitable. Suddenly, a shimmering field of energy engulfed the entire Trelk fleet. Ships collided, their weapons firing wildly as they lost all control. Jacob gaped in awe as the dreadnought twisted in on itself, folding into impossible geometries before vanishing entirely. In the aftermath, Jacob found himself standing before Governor Vega once more, his uniform torn and bloodied. You've saved us all, Captain, Vega said solemnly. But I'm afraid the cost was higher than you know. The weapon we used, it didn't destroy the Trelks. It banished them to a higher dimension. An entire civilization, gone in an instant. Jacob staggered, the weight of what he'd witnessed crashing down upon him. You mean, they're trapped there? Forever? Vega nodded grimly. It was our last resort, Captain. The Trelks left us no choice. Their fate will serve as a warning to any who would threaten peace in this galaxy. Jacob stared out at the stars, grappling with the magnitude of what had transpired. The Trelks were gone, but at what cost? And what new challenges would arise to fill the void they left behind? Jacob stared out at the stars, grappling with the magnitude of what had transpired. The Trelks were gone, but at what cost? And what new challenges would arise to fill the void they left? His musings were interrupted by an urgent message from Governor Vega. Captain Reed, we need to talk. Now. Minutes later, Jacob found himself in a secure briefing room with Vega, both their faces grim. The victory at Trexia Prime. It stirred up a hornet's nest, Vega said, activating a holographic display. It showed hundreds of ships converging from multiple sectors. Our intelligence networks are lighting up. The Cradion Syndicate is on the move. Jacob leaned in, studying the data. The pirate warlords? I thought they were just a loose confederation of thugs. They were. But it seems the Trelks were more than just another band of raiders. They were sworn to the Syndicate. Vega's eyes narrowed. And now the Syndicate wants blood. Before Jacob could respond, a priority alert flashed across his comm. Emergency summit on Earth, sir, his XO reported. We're to depart immediately. The journey to Earth was tense, filled with frantic planning sessions and worst-case scenarios. Upon arrival, Jacob and Vega were ushered into a vast chamber packed with human and Lemnorian officials. Ambassador Zalayan, the Lemnorian representative, stood to address the assembly. Friends, allies, what I'm about to reveal has been our people's most closely guarded secret for millennia. A hush fell over the room as Zalayan activated a small device. The air shimmered, revealing ghostly images of devastated worlds and shattered fleets. The distortion weapon used at Trexia, it was but a pale shadow of our true capabilities. Eons ago, our ancestors developed a technology that defies the very laws of physics as we understand them. Its destructive potential is unimaginable. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Admiral Katerina Sokolov, leader of the human delegation, rose to her feet. With all due respect, Ambassador, why haven't you used this weapon, the Kradion threat? Because we've seen firsthand the price of wielding such power, Zalayan interrupted. The karmic weight, it nearly destroyed our civilization. We swore never again. The debate raged for hours. Sokolov pushed for immediate action, arguing they should strike before the Syndicate could fully mobilize. Jacob found himself on his feet, voice rising above the din. Admiral, think about what you're proposing. An unprovoked attack could shatter everything we've built. How long before other factions decide we're the real threat? In the end, a compromise was reached. A covert operation to cripple the Syndicate's staging ground from within. Jacob wasted no time assembling his team. Lieutenant Kyle Graham, his protege, was an easy choice. The Lemnorians provided two of their best, Valan and Tarka, special operations adepts with abilities that seemed to defy human understanding. They boarded a run-down cargo hauler, its hull scarred and systems barely functional. The perfect bait. Days later, alarms blared as the massive bulk of the Kradion flagship loomed before them. Tractor beams locked on, dragging them into the cavernous hangar bay. Showtime, Jacob muttered. The team moved swiftly, Valan and Tarka's Lemnorian abilities allowing them to pass unnoticed through crowded corridors. But their luck couldn't hold forever. Intruders! The shout rang out just as they reached the fusion nexus. What followed was chaos. Pulse rifles spat deadly energy as Jacob and his team fought their way to the reactor core. Kyle took a glancing hit, crying out in pain but staying on his feet. Almost there, Jacob shouted, laying down covering fire as Tarka planted the fusion harvester charges. The ship rocked violently as the devices activated, cold venting the containment field. Warning klaxons screamed throughout the vessel. Move, move, move. Jacob's boots crunched on the scorched deck plating as he made his way through the wreckage of the Indomitable. The once proud vessel lay broken and twisted, a testament to the recent battle. He pushed aside a fallen bulkhead, revealing the entrance to his old quarters. Inside, the room was a mess of shattered equipment and scattered personal effects. Jacob's eyes fell on a small metallic cube, a Lemnorian meditation focus. He snatched it up, feeling its cool weight in his palm. This'll have to do, he muttered. Settling into a cross-legged position on the floor, Jacob activated the device. A soft blue glow emanated from its surface, filling the room with a gentle hum. He closed his eyes, taking slow, measured breaths. The moment Jacob's consciousness touched the Lemnorian metaphysics now residing in his mind, he gasped. It was like plunging into an ocean of pure information, vast and overwhelming. Concepts beyond human comprehension swirled around him, threatening to sweep away his sense of self. Jacob gritted his teeth, focusing on a single thought. Malkath. The name acted like a beacon, drawing him deeper into the cosmic knowledge. Images flashed through his mind, a writhing mass of darkness, devouring entire civilizations. The screams of countless souls echoed in his ears. Jacob felt bile rise in his throat, but he pushed on. He saw the ancient Lemnorians, their faces etched with sorrow as they prepared for the ultimate sacrifice. Their bodies dissolved into pure energy, forming an intricate web of metaphysical barriers. Malkuth howled in rage as it was bound and cast into the void between dimensions. The visions shifted. Jacob witnessed the gradual erosion of the Lemnorians' vigilance over millennia. He saw the fatal flaw in their hubris, the belief that they could wield cosmic forces without consequence. A searing pain lanced through Jacob's skull as the full weight of the Viharn directive settled into his consciousness. His body convulsed, every nerve ending on fire. Blood trickled from his nose, but he dare not break his concentration. Hours passed, maybe days. Time lost all meaning as Jacob delved deeper into the secrets of the universe. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to grasp the intricate metaphysical weave required to contain Malkuth. When Jacob finally opened his eyes, his face was gaunt, his uniform stained with sweat and blood. But a new fire burned in his gaze. He staggered to his feet, limbs trembling with exhaustion. Through the gaping hole in the Indomitable's hull, Jacob could see the sky above Trexia Prime. The stars were barely visible now, obscured by swirling tendrils of otherworldly darkness. A chill ran down his spine as he realized how little time remained. Jacob tapped his comm badge. "This is Captain Reed to any Allied forces. I need immediate transport off-planet. We have a shot at stopping this thing, but I can't do it alone." As he waited for a response, Jacob's hand clenched around the meditation focus. The weight of the universe pressed down on his shoulders, but he stood tall. Whatever trials lay ahead, he would face them. The alternative was unthinkable.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.